Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
The Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Alliance. That's me.
How's it going?
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jayden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and the gentlemen here with me are none other than the man who yells at clouds, Mr. DKM, and of course the right-hand man of Dr. Lawrence Zirconium. You know him, you love him. His name is Jayden, and we are here. We are the Alliance Guys, and we have a great guest that's joining us in just a few seconds as we enter into the Crockett Cup for the NWA. But big things are on the horizon for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Jayden, I know that you have been manning the phones. You're working the calls. What is going on with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators?
I have very little knowledge. I'm actually waiting to hear from senior matchmaker Jim Molineaux also, because I'm curious what's going on. I was told to keep a date set, but that's all I really know.
Hey, Jay?
Yeah.
Did you call Jayden Dr. Zirconium's right-hand man?
Yeah, honestly, I don't want to know what he does with that right hand, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of know, I've heard rumors about that right hand, and I don't know that I want to go there.
I'm not sure what kind of doctor he is, but I heard he was a gynecologist.
Yeah, I heard he was a urologist.
I'm not going anywhere with that. Real quick, for those of you who are keeping score at home, the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator champions are currently now of course I've lost my my graphic here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Why isn't it ready? Sorry guys. I'll pull it up here in just a minute. The last event was at the Rowan Jane, help me out here. The Rowan
College of Burlington County.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
And we saw the crowning of a new champion at that event. Am I not mistaken?
You are very mistaken.
Okay.
There was no new champions at that event, but the Rowan University, there were some new champions.
Aha. And that's the lot of them right there. Sorry, it's a poorly done graphic. I'm not an expert at designing graphics, but you have David Goldie, your World Wrestling Grand Prix champion. You have Valerie Verman, your World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's champion. You have Breaker Morant, your Dawg heavyweight champion. And of course, Dave Dahl and Dylan
Mesh, the War Devils.
the Daredevils as your dog.
The War Devils.
The War Devils, excuse me.
Yes.
I apologize. The War Devils. And those are your champions of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and the World Wrestling Grand Prix. And without any further ado,
before we go any further, real quick, it took 4 extenders to get that belt around Dave Dahl.
Where do you even buy those? Is that something you can get on Amazon?
Remember that cow picture they took with the Move the Cow? Well, now you know where we got the extenders from.
Well, without any further ado, let's bring on James Molineaux, the ECW original referee extraordinaire, also the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators senior matchmaker, as we step up to the next Dawg event that's taking place soon. Welcome to the show, Jim. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great seeing you again. It's been a while since we spoke last, but I'm glad that you're here, and of course, our fans are very excited to hear what's going to happen next with Dawg. So let's not hold anything back. When are you guys coming back? When's the next event?
Well, the next event, excuse me while I look over here at my notes because I just wanted to make sure I had everything right. The next event will be Friday night, October the 18th. I know it sounds a long way off, but it's good to start putting it out there so people remember, and we'll let you know. We'll give you updates and heads ups and all that kind of stuff during the summer so you remember. But October the 18th, it's a Friday night. Do not forget it.
Friday, October 18th. Now, where I know that in years past, Dawg had been in Glassboro at the Max Fit Sports Center. In fact, I actually got to attend one of I believe it was the last event there. But where are we going now? Where will Dawg be having their next event at?
Dawg is actually moving around now because the Max Fit, which was a great place, Jayden will testify to that. Is no longer a Max Fit facility. It's actually a warehouse now for several companies. So, it's taken a little while for all hands on deck to find somewhere we can have a big crowd. Some of the other places are a little different. You work with what you can. It's the independents.
Right.
But we found a place that'll get a lot of people in there. Hopefully we'll be able to come back again one time or another, but it will be in Pennsville, New Jersey, which is just over the Delaware Memorial Bridge. If you're coming from Delaware or Pennsylvania, it's 5 minutes over the bridge. And we're going to be at the Pennsville Middle School. And that is the address for that is 4 William Penn Avenue.
Yeah, and I've been to Pennsville in the past. It's actually a really historic location. A lot goes on in that area, believe it or not. And it's really going to be exciting to bring Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. I'm glad Mr. Molineaux was able to give us that news because that's an interesting place that I think will be really great for professional wrestling fans. It's not too far from people in Glassboro or any of the South Jersey people like to travel to Dawg events. And so that's really exciting because that's close, and it's also Delaware and Pennsylvania is right off the bridge. You can get there real easily.
Right, and it's an easy get to for people who came to the events in Glassboro, some of the other locations that we've been in. It's real easy to get off. For people in South Jersey, it's not too far off 295. So and everybody knows in New Jersey knows where 295 is.
Yes. Unless you shouldn't be driving.
Like Jayden said, it's a historical town. It's part of the Revolution, the American Revolution. There's a historic Fort Mott there, which if you were on the Pennsylvania side, there's Fort Mifflin just outside of Philadelphia, and they were both defensive forts for the Americans in keeping the British from coming up to Delaware into Philadelphia. And it's also the hometown of Bruce Willis. So
So is the show called Die Hard then?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll have to think about that.
So, well, then I guess the next question is I mean, obviously I know looking for the venue has been a big task for Dawg, and shout out and thanks to the people at Rowan University and Rowan College of Burlington County, as they had been hosting multiple Dawg events throughout this year, and I believe last year as well. So huge shout out to those universities for participating and having those events for Dangerous Underground Wrestling Gladiators on their campus. But this will be an event that'll be open to the public. Anyone that wants to buy their ticket will be welcome at the event.
Absolutely. Tickets we don't have that information yet about advance tickets, but tickets will be available at the door. I can tell you that. So we'll make sure that we have some for walk up.
And I know that Dr. Lawrence Zirconium is always looking for those diamonds in the rough. I know that he has assembled quite a interesting core group of talent. I mean, Breaker Morant, the only 2-time Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator heavyweight champion, David Goldie, the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion. I mean, there is quite a mix of talent that you'll see at a Dawg Live event. I was fortunate enough to be at an event where I did see a Busky Eric Martin in action while he was challenging for the World Wrestling Grand Prix title. And I mean, it's always a fun show when you are at. I was going to get to the event. I was going to get there, Jaden. It's a fun event, and it's a great wrestling crowd that usually is there to support Dawg. But I guess, one thing I know Dr. Lawrence Zirconium likes to do is sprinkle in some outside talent when he does these big events. Do we have any advanced names? Do we know anybody who's going to be at this event, Jim?
Yeah, well, as far as outside or not, usual Dawg locker room member, although he's been here quite often, Falaba is going to be joining us, which will be fun. He always is a fun match to watch, and a great guy to have in the locker room. Also, we're bringing in from OVW. We're bringing in DeGet Bundles. Saying that correctly? Yes.
DeGet Bundles, yeah.
All right.
It's like he's a bundle of fun.
And if you don't know who he is, go to Netflix and check out the TV show The Wrestlers. He was part of that docu-series on OVW. But we'll also be having a lot of our regular wrestlers in. We'll be having Goldie will be there defending his title. We don't have a challenger yet. We're still working on that and trying to move all the puzzle pieces in place. But there will be one of the matches we can announce. There'll be a rematch for the Dawg Tag Team Championship. The former champions, the old school empire of Vinny the Fixer and Patch, will be. They put in their clause to have a rematch. So we're allowing that against the current tag team champions, as you had mentioned, the War Devils, Dylan Mesh and Dave Dawg.
Oh, wow. I look forward to that. I love watching anybody beat up Dave Dawg. And Dylan's really, really, really talented. He's carried Dave for a while, which says a lot, because anybody has to have a back of like Superman to be able to carry that person around.
I was going to say you got to have a real strong core to be carrying around a guy like Dave Dawg.
Yes. I mean, the ground has trouble. And yeah, so, but
the ground around him trembles at his presence.
It's true.
And not in a good way.
We had that earthquake in New Jersey, there's aftershocks because he kept tripping over himself. But seriously, no. The War Devils, they're the new tag team champions. This is their second defense, so that's kind of good against the former champions. Dylan, like I said, he's so talented. He started off, he was working out with different wrestlers in Ring of Honor. He started with the Ring of Honor school, now works out at Cheeseburger School. Does everything he can to learn. He travels around. He works for Mawa too. He travels to different promotions. I know Dave Dawg is huge. But no, he seriously though, Dylan is so very, very talented. And then there's Dave Dahl.
Do we know if the other titles are going to be on the line? Will Breaker Morant be defending? Is that still to be determined?
Well, that we can announce. It will be our main event for the Dawg Championship. It'll be Breaker Morant defending against Spencer Slade.
Oh,
and you reacted, but some people who are just Dawg fans don't really know who Mr. Slade is, but he is from the NWA, and
right.
And you can see him on NWA Power, which is available on the CW app.
Absolutely, yeah. Spencer Slade, who regularly teams with the Spectaculars, has also had a few single matches within the NWA. Always working very sharp, very athletic. Fear the gear, the headgear. And he's also hearing impaired, which is kind of interesting when you think about in the world of professional sports, especially being a tag team wrestler for the NWA. Have the communication inside the ring and all that has been it's been remarkable considering that he is hearing impaired. But having him in a Dawg ring, I think one of the great things about Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, and I hate to steal the term from Dr. Z, but finding those zirconiums in the rough, being able to pick out some great talent over the years. Spencer Slade, I wouldn't call him a zirconium in the rough, but certainly a great talent that I think will help enrich this show. And him challenging Breaker Morant is really going to be a test for Breaker Morant in his second run as champion.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. Before even Spencer Slade showed up in the NWA, both Eric Martin was talking about him, and the late Dirty Money also was a big fan of his and suggesting him. So that's something that has me extremely excited. If you watch Impact at TNA Wrestling, he reminds me a lot of it, especially as a singles wrestler, as a young Josh Alexander.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's fans of Dawg who just only watch Dawg. He's an amateur wrestler with incredible amateur wrestling ability, similar to Ray Jazz. So I think that's something that I think Breaker's. Yeah, he's in for a tough fight that night. We may have a new champion.
And these are two really interesting matches. Of course, Old School Empire. Getting to see those guys live, they're very fun to watch, very entertaining. As violent as they are in the ring, it's the entrance with Patch is absolute comedy gold. You never know what he's going to do on his way to the ring. These two matches, I think, are going to really set the tone for this event. And of course, with Goldie being on the card, and of course the cast of characters that represent that Dawg locker room, I'm excited to see what's next for this show. And again, that's all taking place on Friday, October 18th at the Pennsville Middle School in Pennsville, New Jersey, which is South Jersey adjacent. So it's good for the Dawg fans that they can still get out there for this event.
It's still South Jersey.
Yeah. Oh, it's still South Jersey. Okay. Yeah. So you got to understand, I'm ignorant. I'm not super familiar with the area. I literally flew into Philly last year just to drive out to South Jersey for that the event that I went to. So this is exciting. And again, Friday, October the 18th. Is there anything else you could tell us, Jim, about this card?
No, that's about it. We'll give you some announcements in the coming weeks and so. And we're closer to it. We've got plenty of time. We're still filling in holes with challengers for titles and some good matchups for non-title matches. I think we've got a lot of things in the works that fans of all kinds of wrestling will enjoy coming to Pennsville. Again, this is at the middle school, so obviously it will be a family-friendly wrestling event, which all Dawg events are, but just want to clarify that everybody knows that this is a family-friendly event.
Yeah, everybody in Dawg is very well behaved except for Patch.
Patch is a wild card that needs to be dealt with.
But he's not a bad dog. He's not misbehaved.
No. He's just insane.
He's just fun to have around.
Yes.
Hey, Jim. While we have you on here,
I wasn't there.
No, you weren't. Okay. But while we have you on the show, Dirty Money did pass away. He's a former Dawg heavyweight champion, and I just wanted to know if you had any fond memories you'd like to share with us about Jermaine Robinson.
I really didn't know him that well, other than the Dawg events that he was at. But you know what? He was a guy who was willing to help out and help the younger guys and pass along knowledge. It's always good to have people like that. And he wasn't the only one in the locker room, luckily. We still have people like that in the locker room. But I think a lot of people learned from him in our locker room. A lot of the younger guys that have been in and out of the locker room.
Still one of the highest, most highly regarded matches that we have is Dirty Money versus Breaker Morant to unify the interim and the Dawg championship.
Yeah.
And the only match Breaker's ever lost in Dawg is against Dirty Money early in the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators their career, the early in the company back when they were still wrestling in Clayton, New Jersey. And he was a great champion. I mean, he held the championship for a very long time. He defended against all comers, defended against in New York, defended in Pennsylvania, defended in New Jersey, defended in Delaware, was in there against Anthony Nese, was in there against King Haggis. The NWA fans might remember that name. Wrestled against Lance on Hawaii, was in a match against them for the Dawg Championship. Damian Wayne, there's another one you may recognize. In fact, he took the championship from Damian Wayne. And he was always a real class act. Just a great guy. Like I said, he's defended the championship when we were in Clayton, defended the championship. We were in the Maxfit Sports Center, was part of a 4-way elimination match for the championship with Breaker Morant, Davey Boy Smith Jr., and Rhett Titus. So he's so talented. Wrestled against AR Fox when we did a convention and stole that event. Nobody was talking about anything else in that event. They were all talking about the Dawg Championship match. And, I miss him so much already. It's kind of hard to talk about him, but, he's always going to be at a Dawg event every time now. He's going to have a special spot in the locker room for him. So he'll always be part of the Dawg family.
That's awesome. Just kind of to recap, though, we do have the next Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event taking place on Friday, October the 18th in Pennsville, New Jersey, at the Pennsville Middle School. We'll have the Fala Bala will be in attendance. Dig It Bundles will be there. Did I say that right?
You got both of them wrong. It's Fala Ba.
Fala Ba.
D-Get Bundles.
I said D-Get Bundles.
Yeah, you were close.
Give it to me on that one. We got Goldie defending the WGP Championship, World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship for an opponent to be named later. The Old School Empire will be challenging for the Dawg Tag Team titles against the War Devils, Dylan Mesh and Dave Dahl. And of course, Spencer Slade will challenge the Dawg Heavyweight Champion in Breaker Morant. I think these are all great matches. I think this is going to be a great event. I'm excited for you guys, and I can't wait to see more when you guys are prepared to announce some more of the matches and whatnot.
Yeah, it's the first step to getting this thing rolling, but it's a big step.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today, Jim. I really appreciate you coming on to break the news with us, and hopefully when there's more to announce, maybe you can jump back on and help preview the event before the show before the event happens.
We'll do. We'll make sure everybody knows about it. We want a huge crowd at this. We want to bring all our old fans back. We want to bring new fans in. We want the people of Pennsville to be there. It's going to be great.
And I do want to add that the events that happened at Rowan University and Rowan College of Burleson. Burlington is in Texas. In Burlington, those shows are available on YouTube. Those matches are available on YouTube. You can go to the Dawg Pro Wrestling YouTube channel and check out all those matches, as well as the matches from Max Sports Fit Center. And all of the matches that have been made available from Dawg are available on that YouTube channel. So make sure you go like, comment, and subscribe on the Dawg YouTube channel. They are linked here on our page, on the YouTube page, but we'll also get the that video link, the YouTube link in the video. But again, thank you so much for your time, Jim, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me. Peace and love, everyone.
Thanks, Jim. And that was ECW original Dawg senior matchmaker, Jim Molineaux. I have it written right down, Molineaux. I got it right.
Yes, I'm very happy on that one.
So I thought it was pronounced Molineaux, like Molineaux, and so I'm glad you corrected me, because I would hate to be sated incorrectly to him. And although I have said it correctly in the past, he was on the show before. So, but thank you for the help on that one, Jayden, and very much looking forward to that event. I'm sure you'll give us more details when they happen, but of course we'll have Jim come back on to preview that event as it gets closer.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is the first time hearing some of this stuff. I mean, Goldie defending the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship is always great. The War Devils versus Old School Empire, we just know Patch and Vinny are going to beat the crap out of Dave Dawg, which is worth the price of admission alone. And, Dylan's talented. But but really, that Spencer Slade against Breaker Morant, that match has me extremely excited.
The thing I like about Spencer Slade, like you said, he's got that collegiate wrestling background. I don't think that NWA fans have really got to see the Spencer Slade that the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator fans are going to see. It's not going to be as silly as he is in the NWA. And I don't think he is silly. I think just the positions that they put him in are kind of silly. But he's going to have a serious matchup with Breaker Morant. And again, when that Dawg title's on the line, I mean, the gloves come off. You don't keep score. It's just win, lose, or draw. So I'm really hoping to see that matchup. I think it's going to be a stellar matchup.
What do you think of the matches announced, DK?
I'm excited over the Slade one. I'm never excited over Dave Dawg.
Even him getting beat up, I mean, that's half the crowd pays to see Dave Dawg get beat up.
Yeah, but then something happens and he wins, and it's just like, it's always fun watching him get beat up, but sometimes he just trips and falls on his opponent, and how do you move a whale off of you?
One piece at a time? Yeah.
By the time they count 3, the person's barely taking their first breath. So
yeah, it's not a good look.
The smell doesn't help either.
Well, that probably explains why I see some of them just, passed out cold.
Yes. I once seen him pull out a roast pork sandwich out of one of those fat folds.
I got very close to losing my lunch when you said that.
Hopefully you didn't have a roast pork sandwich.
Oh, God. Oh,
I'm just thinking I may never have a roast pork sandwich.
My question for you, Jayden, and again, I know you don't make these decisions, but do we know if Chris Steeler is going to be on this event?
I don't know. I don't know, unfortunately, anything. Like I said, I'm finding out stuff as I'm hearing it now. Steeler's talented. Maybe he's going against Goldie. I'm sure he has a rematch clause built into his WWGP contract. He is a former and the longest reigning WWGP champion.
He's the only WWGP champion I've seen live. So I'm excited. I hope for the fans of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators that he does come back to challenge for that WWGP title. He's hell of a talent. And I know that the Dawg roster does evolve, it does change, and people come and go. But when you think of the lineage of champions, both as the World Wrestling Grand Prix and as the Dawg champions, you've had some pretty amazing talent representing both the World Wrestling Grand Prix and Dawg. And he being one of them. Eric Busky Martin. We could even go back to the old days like Chance Prophet and Damian Wayne. And of course, the late Dirty Money. All of these guys really carried that Dawg brand with honor and prestige as the champion, and with World Wrestling Grand Prix as well. The champions of that brand have been very well decorated and have represented Dawg well also. So I think it's going to be a great event. You know, I know we're going to do a lot of NWA talk here momentarily, but I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the Dawg fans. I'm excited for wrestling fans in South Jersey. And I think this is going to be a fun time.
And to answer an earlier question, yes, Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators was once part of the National Wrestling Alliance, both as an affiliate and as a member.
Yeah. You guys were never, not you guys, but Dr. Lawrence Draconium, he did not sign the licensee, right? He did not continue on once ownership changed, right?
He did out of the when the Tharp era. He was part of the Tharp era. He was a member.
That's right.
Yes. Remember the championship change in Clayton, New Jersey?
That's right. And actually, Champion Music Man asked, I believe Haggis defended the title in Dawg. Close. He didn't defend the title in Dawg, as our pal DKM said in the chat. He won it in Dawg. And, well, you know, I don't want to get into that, but it should have been Damian Wayne. Anyway.
Controversy. Oh, sorry.
I heard it creates cash or something.
Yeah.
Whew. So, hey, thanks for setting that up. Having Jim Molineaux, excuse me, did it again, joining us for the chat. It was great having him here. I definitely like picking his brain. He had been on with us before at a much longer conversation. Talking about his time.
His lineage is great. I mean, he was one of the original ECW referees. He's worked for ECW. He worked for Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, the predecessor before. He ran a wrestling school. He was part of the Monster Factory originally, and then he was part of Old Time Wrestling. Damian Priest, he has his hands on Damian Priest. He's had his hands on a lot of wrestlers throughout their time in the Monster Factory, and then later the Old Time Wrestling. A lot of great talent came from there, including wrestlers you may recognize for Dawg, like Ty Thomas, former Ring of Honor wrestler, and absolutely nice guy, and I mean that sarcastically, in Brian Johnson.
I don't know who that is.
He was a Ring of Honor, and he had long blonde hair initially. I think it's shaved now, but he cut some great promos on how much he hated Danhausen and how much he liked serious wrestling and don't like the stuff that was happening in wrestling. Very, very, very talented wrestler. I'm surprised he's not somewhere else bigger right now, or like maybe working for at least the Ring of Honor version owned by Tony Khan. But he is so incredibly good in the ring, and he's been actually in wrestling for Dawg a couple times too. We did an outside event at a church event, and he was part of that. And he wrestled in. He defended the Old Time Wrestling Championship against Adam Chandler.
Chandler's a big guy.
Yeah. So is a very talented guy, and I look forward to seeing. Hopefully, he ends up in Dawg someday soon too. So good in the ring.
Let me ask you this: when Jim brought up, you're gonna have to help me out again because now you have me questioning it. Diget bundles. Diget bundles.
Yeah, Diget bundles.
Didn't he once challenge for the World Wrestling Grand Prix title?
Oh yeah, he's actually wrestled for Dawg in the past before he got over to Ohio Valley Wrestling. By the way, he's also an OVW Southern Tag Team Champion, former OVW Southern Tag Team Champion, and he was a singles wrestler for Dawg. He was brought in by the request and the recommendation of William Huckabee.
Yes,
had a really good match. He's older than for his experience, but I think that helped him because while he's less experienced than you would think of at his age, he's way more mature and a lot more intelligent inside that ring than than his initial experience. Now he's got a lot of experience, so it's his talent and his experience are catching up with each other. But he went against Matt Striker, and Matt Striker for the rest of the night was singing his praises from the match they had against each other. It came very close to beating Matt Striker, who was also a former challenger to the WWGP championship.
And then real quick, I did want to go over the last event results that took place at the Rowan College of Burlington County. The former Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators champion Eric Martin, one of Jay Cal's favorite, Eric Martin, took on Nick Robles. I believe he won that match, right?
Yeah, Nick Robles, I think his name is actually
Robles. Excuse me.
Yeah, like Buck Robles, Yeah.
And then Eddie Hawkins defeated Will Strauss and Isaac, and I believe that was a triple threat match.
It was actually a triangle match. It was double elimination.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think what happened was there was another match scheduled, and the opponent had to pull off last minute, so they had nobody for one of the wrestlers. So they made that match a triangle match with double elimination.
And then, of course, the War Devils, Dave Dahl, Dylan Mesh, defended their titles against the world's sexiest tag team of Dad Bod and Adam Matthews. Having seen Dad Bod in person, I really kind of not sure if I agree with that name, the world's sexiest tag team.
And his partner Adam Matthews is 100% all natural. He's called All Natty Adam Matthews. Not a steroid in his body.
And I believe it.
And then
I don't think there's a steroid in his body. I don't think there's protein in his body. I'm not sure there's anything in his body outside of a skeleton.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Anthony Bennett defeated Silver Lobo, and then Rhett Titus made his return to Dawg as he defeated Ty Thomas. That was a really good match from what I heard. And again, you can check that match out. I believe that's available on the YouTube channel.
By the way, Ant Bennett wrestled in the Cruiserweight Classic for the WWE against Anthony Nese in the first round.
Oh, wow.
And had a few matches in the WWE and in the Cruiserweight division. And he, again, came from the Monster Factory initially and has worked his way around now. He's a very talented wrestler. And he's, as soon as I think his biggest downfall, he was more worried about his hair initially. And he used to have a big stack of hair on top of his head. But now he's not so worried about it, and I think it's shown in his wrestling ability. He is a former challenger to the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, too. He wrestled against Chris Steeler for that championship, and he's a serious threat to any championship in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
Then also, you had the Battle of the Vins. Vinny the Fixer defeated Vincent Michaels. And then the main event of that event was Breaker Morant defending the Dawg Championship title against Tank Tolan, who, again, longtime wrestling fans will remember him from Ohio Valley. His short run with the WWE. I remember him out here in Southern California when he was part of the original New Japan USA back in like 2003. So it's kind of cool that Tank Tolan's still out there battling around and having him challenge for that title. Tank Tolan's a big dude.
Yeah, that was Tank's first loss in Dawg.
Wow.
And, he earned a championship. He picked up a lot of big wins. He also used to wrestle for Ring of Honor.
That's right.
Worked for Monster Factory, worked throughout that old-time wrestling, the Jim Molineaux. Very, very talented guy. Trained a lot of people in OVW, too, as one of the assistant trainers during his time there. Very good in the ring. He's very, very strong. Stronger than if you see old pictures of him, he's very built, too. But he's stronger than he's built, so that should tell you something.
Sure. He's kind of like if you think of everything negative about Dave Dahl and then flip it and make it positive, you kind of have Tank Tolan, guy who's in shape, lots of talent, an attractive guy, good in the ring, solid dude, lots of charisma. The exact opposite of Dave Dahl.
Yes. Dave Dahl does have a body of a god.
Buddha,
yeah.
Well, again, that's Friday, October the 18th. More information as it becomes available. But thank you to Dr. Lawrence Zirconium and James Molineaux for being available for us tonight. And we'll hopefully be talking to him and some more of the talent from Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators as those matches get announced and get closer to happening. But now we're going to turn the tables just a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the relationship that has been evolving since the Royal Rumble, and that's the relationship between the WWE and TNA Wrestling. It's something that it's been very compelling. If you look on social media, you'll see, Joe Hendry, who appeared on WWE programming just on Tuesday, his video has been seen I think it was over 3 million times now. One of the most viewed videos on X since WrestleMania for the WWE was Joe Hendry's debut at the NXT Battle Royal to determine the number one contender. Now, this all started, it really started about 2 years ago when Mickie James showed up at the Royal Rumble, and as she was the TNA Women's Champion at the time, and they acknowledged that she was the TNA Champion, the Knockouts Champion, and she had a decent showing in the Women's Royal Rumble. I believe that was in 2023. And then this year, Jordynne Grace graced the WWE ring with her presence, had a very strong showing at that Women's Battle Royal, Royal Rumble, before we would see her again just a couple weeks ago at the NXT Battleground, where she challenged Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. Roxanne Perez was successful, but when Jordynne Grace did appear on the NXT program, she was there with Gail Kim, who was an executive from TNA, former WWE wrestler. Ash by
Elegance.
Ash by Elegance, yeah. Who formerly wrestled for the WWE. She was also in attendance and actually played a role in the match. And then on this Tuesday, we had the Battle Royal that featured Frankie Kazarian, a former WWE wrestler in his own right, but also, a name that I kind of feel is synonymous with TNA Wrestling, and as well as Joe Hendry, who's kind of been a hot commodity for TNA as of late. And I talk about all this to bring up the fact that this partnership is kind of slowly articulated into whatever it is now. All the while you have, this relationship also the WWE is starting to form with Pro Wrestling Noah. And a lot of people think that this is in response to Tony Khan's Forbidden Door that he has established working with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as well as Lucha Libre AAA and CMLL in Mexico. And it feels like there is some galvanization, some synergy that are happening between these wrestling promotions to not just stay relevant, but to thrive. And I know that might not be the popular opinion, but Jayden, what do you think about this this brave new world that we're in, that these wrestling promotions are now, finding these relationships that, in at least the most recent years had kind of seemed like something that wouldn't have never have happened?
Do you remember when WWE used to work with USWA, and when they worked with Super World Sports in Japan?
Yes.
And when they worked with, even one time, New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And
they also, and I mean, I also remember them financing ECW towards the end of ECW's days too. And a lot of talent that was working for ECW at the time were really under WWE contract, like Al Snow. And I think there was a few other guys too, but yeah, I do remember that.
Well, what about, and you might not remember this, what about when they brought in the NWA? When you saw the NWA North American Championship being defended in the WWF ring, when you saw the NWA World Tag Team Championships being defended in a WWF ring, when you saw Jim Cornette bringing out the Howard Brody and Dennis Carluzzo, and Howard Brody's suit that was 9 times bigger than he was, and most of all, Yeah. Most importantly, I believe, was when you saw Dan the Beast Severn with that NWA championship. That was a huge deal. I don't think there would be an NWA for Billy Corgan to buy if it wasn't for something like that. And there are rumors out there, I don't know if it's true, that TNA may be looking to sell. I think their price went up tremendously now, just being associated with the NXT and the WWE. And I think that's, besides the fact, there's all those, every once in a while, somebody tries to put out an a suit against the WWE for trying to control everything and have everything going so nobody else can run. And I know MLW had a suit really for that, for the antitrust suits recently that they settled with. It's kind of hard to have an antitrust suit now if they're working with Noah and they're working with TNA, and so allegedly there's a promotion and possibly in Puerto Rico they're looking to start working with, and same thing for Mexico maybe in the future.
Yeah,
I think that's going to make it hard on any kind of antitrust suits. But it's really, I think, great for these companies, especially if these talents are now getting seen on a bigger platform, that I think it's going to be huge for these companies' growth. Because now, maybe if you weren't going to necessarily sign for TNA, you might try to go somewhere else. But now you think, well, if I'm not going to go right to the WWE, this is a step to get me there. I'm going to get a lot more noticed and a lot more eyeballs on me now. People watching TNA and watching NXT, and maybe get a part of that, and maybe transition that to the WWE someday. I think that's huge for the people wanting, as another step. Think of it as like, if you're a hockey fan, the WWE is the NHL, NXT is the AHL, but there's a lot of other HLs that send talent, right. And one of them I admire is the ECHL, and that's what TNA is right now, the ECHL, to go up to the AHL and NXT, and maybe even eventually to become the big leagues. So I think that's going to be great I think it's great for wrestlers looking for a way to get seen and get their name out there.
I would love to hear what DKM's take is on that. DK has been very quiet this evening, but I know that he has, he's always got something to say. So DK, let's hear what your thought is on this, this marriage of sorts. Maybe it's not a marriage, but at least they're in the talking stages of TNA and the WWE.
Joe Henry won Battle Royal.
No.
Joe Henry did well into the Battle Royal.
No.
Joe Henry was the first person eliminated from the Battle Royal.
Yes.
Frankie Kazarian did last in. I think he was in the final four. It was on the background. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, but I think he was in the final four. Some TNA guy who I don't follow TNA close enough to know who the heck he was won it.
Javon Evans, by the way.
Javon Evans. Yay for him.
He was an NXT guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's her name? The champion, Jordynne Grace. Did respectable in the Rumble. Lost to their third brand champion. Hopefully, there seems to be some evidence that them showing up is bringing eyes to TNA. But the question is, how long, how much, where does it go? Remember, AEW also worked with TNA, and that was just ended up with Kenny Omega winning their championship, losing it to another AEW guy who he then beat to retain his AEW championship. So
let me just say this, right? I'm sorry that I have to interrupt because I know where you're going with it, but when I look at the WWE tweeted on June 18th, just 2 days ago, during the Battle Royal, Joe Hendry's entrance into the Battle Royal. The NXT crowd were chanting his name. They were cheering him. And that is not an NXT talent. Joe Hendry has never worked for the WWE on any relevant basis. He came out, cut a promo. The fans were eating it up. He enters the Battle Royal, and yeah, he was the first one eliminated. That video of his promo before the Battle Royal has now been seen 8.7 million times. And I know that social media isn't everything, but as a wrestler, what better way to get your name out there than appearing in NXT through TNA Wrestling? And now 8.7 million people, or at least 8.7 million views of Joe Hendry entering the NXT Battle Royal. That's got to elevate him as a talent, whether he won, lost, or was the first one eliminated. That many people, that many times have watched him just enter the ring. That's got to have some weight, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think if it's a taste, because this was it. Santino Marella is, he wasn't a serious wrestler, but he got mileage out of being the fastest eliminated Royal Rumble guy. Right. It also took every wrestler to attack him. How many times have I seen that happen to Andre or any big guy in a Battle Royal? It takes every wrestler just sits there and jumps him and throws him out, and it's often early in the match when they do that.
He's not billed as 7'4" though.
No, but it did. All of them wanted. He pissed them all off enough that they all made sure that he didn't win and he got thrown out early. That's just a taste of Joe Hendry. Now, when they bring him back, the people with all these people are like, all right, who's this guy? Who am I paying attention to? Now, the next time they do something with them, they can give them a little bit more. There's a lot of things that a lot of wrestling promoters like to do that call blowing your load. And a lot of people will sit there and they'll either give somebody everything possible and put him in the ring with somebody, and they'll have a banger of a match and banger upon banger upon banger. But because they wrestled against somebody that nobody cared about, the match wasn't built up properly. They just didn't do it right. And they gave too much away. The people already seen everything they needed to see about him. They just gave him just a little taste of Joe Hendry. And if he does have more, and I've seen him, he has more to go along with it. That he did another promo too. I don't know if you saw that against Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Saying, that it took 24 guys to eliminate him. And now people are going to have just their whistle wet just enough that maybe they want to try a little bit more of Joe Hendry. I mean, again, Kazarian was there the whole damn time. Nobody's talking about him.
Right. Well, and that's kind of my point. You can talk there's a balance there. I mean, you can talk a good thing, but until you do something, it doesn't matter. And so it's like, I mean, is it good for Joe Hendry? Sure, it's good for Joe Hendry. I mean, I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is that let's not overstate how TNA is going to be presented in WWE, which is they're not going to be presented as an equal.
Yeah, and I think that's look, you're 100%.
And look, just that, Jayden pointed out, where would the NWA have been if Howard Brody hadn't, been in Dennis Carluz's suit? Not where it went.
Yeah,
that did a lot for him.
Yeah.
Will this do something for him? Hopefully. Will their ratings go up? Maybe. I think in the greater scheme of things, the best thing is for the talent who now maybe WWE could be more interested in eventually bringing in some of them when their contracts expire.
Yeah,
they can't get all of them.
And TNA benefits just says now that they're seen as a gateway to the WWE, more talent's going to end up going, and better talent's going to end up going there. And if there's some talent goes the other way, we don't forget there's the whole thing with Drew McIntyre. If he goes to that, and who knows if he's there, CM Punk might show up. And in the short term alone, just right now, they had 2 tapings that they had set up in Canada. That after these angles, the tickets sold much faster to the point they actually opened up more tickets to sell now. And these both of the nights of the event coming up in Canada for TNA.
Hey, all of us, Jane, all of a sudden it sounds like you're talking in a tin can.
All right, I might have to sign out. Can I start now? I have to sign back out.
Okay.
Yeah, but I might sign back out. But yeah, I'm just saying real quick though, that WWF didn't treat the NWA great, and look how great it was for them.
Yeah, no, and so like you brought up well, he did bring up Drew McIntyre, and again, this isn't a WWE podcast, but of course the storyline that's going on with Drew McIntyre right now is that he's kind of fed up with the way he's been treated in the WWE. He recently signed a contract, so this is probably all a work, but he had indicated that he's not happy about his stature in the WWE, and he just walked out. I believe it was on Raw. He just walked out on the programming. Now, in years past, CM Punk did that years ago as world champion, left the programming, but when he left, he didn't go anywhere. He just was off TV. But now you could literally have Drew McIntyre as kind of like the opposite side of the coin, going to TNA Wrestling. Maybe he challenges Moose for the TNA World Championship. What if, and this is, I know that this is Dave Scooby's bag doing the fantasy booking, but let me just tiptoe into it real quick. What if Joe Hendry, and there's a big what if Joe Hendry faces Andrade for the speed title on X and wins the speed title and brings that to TNA Wrestling? I mean, it's a belt that isn't,
He can't.
Why can't he?
Speed is 100%
X.
Exclusively to X, yeah. But
they don't. That's why you don't. They'll show a picture when they talk about it, but that's why they don't show up in WWE with the belt.
Oh, okay.
It's 100%. But anyway, I want to get to my point because everybody wants to interrupt me as I talk.
Sure, go ahead.
But my thing is, I'm not against it, but we'll see where it is in a year. That's my thing. Right now, sure, there's some advantages going, and TNA's getting seen by a bigger audience, and that's good. But you got to put your thing over. I mean, I don't want Drew McIntyre going TNA and winning the TNA title, because then, you're putting WWE, you're cementing the fact that they're higher than, and better and whatever to the TNA talent. You want your talent to come out looking good. And so you have to have the cases where, at least even though she lost to Roxanne Perez, she looked good in the match. Jordynne Grace. And I'm not even a Jordynne Grace fan. I'm not a Joe Henry fan either. But, yeah. And I don't have anything against him. I don't think he's bad or whatever. I don't get the hype. But, let's see where this is in a year.
October.
And I'm not going to get real excited real fast over it, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I don't think you need to, right? Like, I don't think, this could be over now, right? It can be done. I think for the potential that the relationship can continue, and based on the little bit of seeds that they've planted, I think it will. But remember, October 1st, NXT will make its debut on the CW over the air on the CW television. You can watch it with your bunny ears. You can watch it with your cable provider. You could see the CW NXT program starting on October 1st. And I feel like, it's not a dead 100% written in stone type decree, but like, what better way to differentiate your brand, the NXT brand, than this co-op with TNA Wrestling? Remember, TNA is on a channel that doesn't have a lot of clearance. There's not a lot of market penetration for that Anthem. It's not Anthem, but what's the name of the channel? Axis.
It's a witness protection program on television. Yeah,
it more or less is. And the way that you could judge the level of success that TNA Wrestling experiences with this partnership is ticket sales or more premium subscriptions for their product that you could watch online, or just more people ordering the pay-per-views. And if I don't have access to those numbers, I cannot speak to that, but if they're getting an uptick in ticket sales, they have an uptick in merchandise sales, and they have an uptick in pay-per-view sales, currently, based on working with the NXT, Jordynne Grace being seen by more people, Joe Henry being seen by more people, Frankie Kazarian, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If this trend continues, isn't that a plus for them? Isn't that a positive for TNA Wrestling? And I understand what you're saying, DK, but you don't want to necessarily just give your talent to the WWE to allow them to bury them and make sure that NXT is the dominant source. But what happens if Moose shows up on WWE programming? Like we yes, Jordynne Grace was there, and she had a very competitive match against Roxanne Perez, who is the NXT Women's Champion. But what if they brought in the Moose and had him go against, I believe it's Trick Williams, their champion? I mean, wouldn't that be something like, at the very least, interesting, something worth talking about? Something that, like, hey, and again, I know this is fantasy booking.
Again, we got to, we've got to see where it goes.
Sure.
You bring Moose in, you put him against Trick Williams, and Trick Williams wins.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good look.
TNA left their partnership with AEW because they're like, AEW's not really doing anything for us. We're just jobbers to them.
Yeah.
NWA ended its first relationship with ROH because Dave Lagana said there was nothing to our advantage in it. We weren't gaining from it. They were never going to put us as on the same level as their champions. Now, when the renewed, it was a little bit different because Marty Scurll was booking and he wanted to be part, a bigger angle in the NWA. But that's what I'm saying. Is it to their advantage? Sure, for now. But if it ends tomorrow and in a year they have the same draw and the same, you always got to see that where the NWA was able to take advantage of them being on the show wasn't because all of a sudden the NWA promotion took off. It was because enough people saw it that were independent promoters that said, okay, I'm willing to join to get, to get some of that. And of course they all joined and the angle ended and
yeah.
But then by then they were in there and they were still, feeding off it as best they could, milking it for everything they had. I mean, really the NWA and its membership took good advantage of it.
Yeah,
and I don't know, in a year, in 6 months, it may be, great.
And there is a different dynamic there, of course, when you bring up the WWE and its short-term relationship with the NWA. I mean, the NWA was built differently. It hasn't been a number one nationally recognized wrestling promotion, and not that TNA has either, but at one point TNA was the number 2 wrestling promotion in the United States behind the WWE. They're probably like third now, maybe even fourth or fifth, depending the level of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I feel like that growth for the NWA wasn't so much about being on WWE programming, but just having people remember that it exists, right? Because we're talking about 1998 when that invasion happened, and Dan Severn was great at taking that 10 pounds of gold to UFC events and wrestling all across the country with that title. But the relevancy of the NWA then, as opposed to now, I mean, I feel like it's a lot greater today than it was, 30 years ago when they worked with the WWE.
Sure.
So,
like Jaden said, you can trace it back to that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was also a different monster.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to fight on DK's side of this argument right now too.
Okay.
And there's too many people that think dream match booking. Oh, dream match Moose versus Trick Williams or whoever the hell their champion is.
Yeah.
You can't just throw out a match and call it a dream match and think it's going to mean anything.
No.
What the AEW's problem is right now. If they're going to ever do anything, if they really wanted to do something that TNA could really benefit, have Moose defend the TNA championship on an NXT pay-per-view or premium live event or on television against an NXT talent. Have some NXT talents go to TNA and challenge, not necessarily win, but challenge for these championships. Maybe, a couple former NXT champions go against Moose. That's something that could build up to make that one eventual big match mean something. So it's just not thrown together and then there's no real build up, nothing to really make it other than their dream match. Dream matches don't really draw except for a small niche crowd.
No, and I totally agree with you on that. And I think that's actually a very smart idea, the way that you presented it as, instead of, WWE versus TNA, why not do a match that would be like, again, going back to Joe Hendry, and the only reason why I'm using him is because, again, all the talk seems to be about Joe Hendry, but, Joe Hendry versus Moose for the TNA World Title, and have that as part of a premium live event. That could definitely get people talking about what's going on there, and I really feel like that might help grow that audience as well too.
I think it also could help the NXT also, especially being on television. Well, again, the TNA's in the purgatory right now in the wrestling world. People see things and they see things differently. They see things they may have never seen before, and it can draw interest. And this Joe Hendry thing's a perfect example. He already had kind of a little bit of a buzz with a lot of the smart fans. But now people who are like, who is this guy? And they look it up and they see some of the stuff, because he's got a lot out there of stuff that's interesting and unique and in some cases entertaining.
Yeah.
They can start finding about him, and it could really add something now to the NXT. There's something that maybe like they're missing, because that's one of the problems I think right now all pro wrestling is missing, is that excitement of that unpredictability. And for a little bit, I'll give them credit. A little bit AEW had that, but the WWE just kind of, even when they bring people in, it just still kind of feels not spontaneous, with possible exception of when The Rock showed up that one time.
Yeah.
That's what I think they need, is more spontaneity, more something that you never know what's going on. And I think that's where the TNA can benefit NXT, especially moving to a network television. Even though you don't think so, because again, they're a much smaller company. That spontaneity, that excitement that you never know, that's something that wrestling is missing, and I think they're starting to get a little bit of because of this deal.
Yeah, as long as we fit it in a story. Something that Jaden said, it's a good segue to something I want to talk about a little bit. I'm assuming the pronunciation is Alex, ALYX. This is a post on X. And this is about AEW and the new elite, but I kind of feel like it goes for wrestling in general and also NWA. And so I'm just kind of wanting your guys' opinion on this. Just Alex says, it's been 3 months since the new elite formed in March, and I still have no idea what their purpose is. What is their goal here? To take over AEW? For what reason? What do they want to change? Why do they want to change it? Most important, why should fans care to see them fail? These are important questions that need answers for a compelling storyline. Without them, no one will care except for the usual AEW sickos, Tony Khan put it, who watch regardless of how bad the story is. For me, the new elite takeover lost momentum when Tony Khan returned and took back control around Double or Nothing. Now the elite just feel like another average heel stable, bad for the sake of being bad. Anything they do will just being done by Tony, or in this case, either Tony or his sometimes voice, Christopher Daniels.
AKA Adam Pearce on Wish.
Yes.
Or Timu. I got to get modern, Timu.
there's no substance, even with the addition of Okada. Things are just happening. But hey, the wrestling is good, right? So I'll start with Jayden, and then we'll let Jay talk. But I mean, Jayden, I feel like this is something that is almost transcending wrestling right now.
Yeah.
And if they do have a storyline, a lot of times they're not good. And I'll even point at WWE, who had an excellent long storyline with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, but even a lot of the short stuff in the middle was kind of, ugh. And ever since Cody's won, they haven't really known what to do with him. And, you know, I pointed out in conversation with you guys, I was more interested in Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre versus Gunther. And in seeing where that went. So what are your thoughts just on that sentiment, Jayden?
Anybody remember the NWO?
Yeah, of course.
They was implied, and now if you watch the death of WCW, Bischoff outright said it. They were trying to make it look like the WWE was invading.
Right.
They said it's long. They literally said it's long enough now. He can no longer get sued for it. But it was obvious that they were trying to make it look like that Hall and Nash, that Razor and Diesel were invading WCW. And it felt like it wasn't supposed to happen. It felt like television. Nitro's best part about Nitro, even before the NWO showed up, is you never knew what was going to happen. Lex Luger showing up set that pace. And then they have the NWO, and they feel like they're invading and that they're going, you never know who's going to show up next. Is Vince McMahon going to show up? Is Shawn Michaels going to show up? Are we going to see Meade Marcalis undertake his way into WCW again? There was a feeling that you just didn't know. Even the smart people, they just 100% didn't know, and I use smart in quotes, what was going on, and if they were, what's really going on behind the scenes, and are they working together? Is this something, is this a conspiracy? Is there somebody really trying to do it? You don't feel that with the Elite. They don't feel like they have any purpose to try to take over, and that's what they said in that tweet, or that X, or whatever they call it nowadays.
X.
It doesn't feel like there's any real purpose for them to try to take it over, to do whatever they need to do. They don't feel like outsiders. They just feel like the same old stuff. The only thing getting over right now is Okada just calling people bitches. That's the only thing in that whole damn angle that's getting over. And the things with Tony Khan was embarrassing. The bump with the groin shot and the neck brace while moving his head all around and everything else. That was embarrassing. And it just doesn't feel like there's any consequences. It doesn't feel real. And that's why the NWO felt real. It felt like something he wasn't supposed to happen. You're just not getting that with this angle, and that's why nobody gives a crap. That's why the ratings are going down. That's why they have lower segments ratings and with the Elite now. It just doesn't feel important. The only thing that slightly feels important right now in there is a little bit MJF, and I really can't think of anything else. Can you guys?
Well, I got to be honest. I haven't watched an episode of AEW in a long time. I know that there was a fan base that was very excited about Tony Storm. There was a fan base that was very excited about the return of, our former NWA Women's Champion. Why did I just forget her name? Wow.
Rosa?
Thank you. I don't know what just happened. I think I had a stroke. So Thunder Rosa, like her return was exciting. I heard a lot of people talking about the artist formerly known as Edge when he, was the TNT champion and unfortunately got injured doing a high risk move off the cage. I know people are talking about Forbidden Door. I'll be honest, I haven't seen an AEW event since Sting retired, and it's not because I don't like some of the talent. It's honestly just for me, it's kind of like there's only so many hours in a day. I feel like are people not excited about AEW? Is Tony Khan churning an audience off? Is the booking really bad? I mean, I think it's a combination of all of it, right? Like now more than ever, when AEW formed, they wanted to be the alternative, and at the time, the WWE programming was not very good. And you know who else benefited from WWE having poor programming? The NWA. The NWA didn't do anything that was so earth-shattering, great, and phenomenal. It was an alternative to pretty poor programming presented by Vince McMahon and company. And so when AEW debuted and had this very alternative feel, people got excited about that. Geez, so many talent now has jumped ship from AEW back to the WWE, and I can't think of anybody who in recent time has jumped the other direction. I mean, I know Adam Copeland, I know what's her name, Sasha Banks, Monet, but like I don't see the excitement still isn't there. I don't know. I would always say that tastes in wrestling are varied, and I want people to enjoy what they enjoy. AEW presents itself differently from the WWE, but as right now, I'm not invested in any of the storyline. I'm not excited about really anything, and nothing is overwhelmingly compelling to get me there. Shane Strickland is great. I think he's a great wrestler. I'm not overly excited, and I've told you guys in the past, I do like Will Ospreay. I'm not overly excited to order that pay-per-view. I'm not really excited about that matchup. So I guess to what your point is, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really inspiring for me anyways. And that's just my opinion. But again, other people have different opinions.
In the old Memphis locker room, there was a sign that said personal interaction, personal grudges, personal, like that drew money. Yeah. There's nothing that feels personal in AEW. And, right now, what's excited about? They're excited about Ricochet joining, and they're allegedly the Shane McMahon rumors. But it's just WWE people going over. There's nothing that they can do. They'll get a big pop. They might get a slight rating at first. But people don't remember how bad Shane McMahon was when it came to creative, and now they want him to take over for Tony Khan. That's one of the things that they're talking about.
I don't I could be wrong. I don't think they want him to take over for Tony
No,
Khan.
There's a lot of people talking about
there are people saying it.
They want them to go over there to save and to run AEW for Tony Khan. That's the thing everybody's talking about. At least the people I've seen online, the things going around, and let's talk. Yeah, that mustache is part of it. It is pretty awesome. I can't pretend otherwise. I mean, and here's the thing too. When AEW gets something that starts clicking, somehow they kill it. I don't think the Tony Storm thing was that great. Shane Strickland was getting over on his own, and then they killed it. Samoa Joe was getting over on his own, and they screwed that up. Christian Cage was over for a while, and now nobody cares. Edge was exciting because he was there. They absolutely killed anything with Mercedes the Moaner, and they killed her too. It's just there's nothing right now that even when something they get a little bit of momentum, they put a halt to it. They put a gun to it.
Yeah,
that's because he's a booker that doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, they say like when he first sat down, he planned out the first 2 years of
AEW.
Of AEW. And they go, by the end of the second year, he had the third year planned. They go, by the end of the third year, and you can kind of see this, they go, he was about 6 months ahead. And they go, now he's like the old days of Vince McMahon coming up and tearing up the scripts, except for he doesn't have a script to tear up. Because he's the only one that writes it.
Look, we know I guess we don't know anything. The speculation is that Scott D'Amore is still under contract to TNA Wrestling, and that will be paid out over the next year, I guess. So he kind of is in a no-compete clause because he's still getting paid by Anthem. But somebody like Delirious, who did Ring of Honor television for such a long time, do you think that they would be would they enhance the product if could somebody like Delirious, I can't remember his real name, Mike Hunter, I think but I could be wrong. Could he help Tony Khan if Tony was willing to take that help? Could that benefit the product, or do you think it's just a lost cause and Tony's going to be Tony and do Tony things?
Nobody can help Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Nobody. If Tony Khan will always be a event, in the sense that he's whatever he wants is what's going to do, and it would be a point of ripping up scripts at the last moment and changing things if somebody other than Tony Khan booked, because Tony Khan's not doing this for any other reason than he wants to book.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to run a wrestling company. He wants to do the stories. He's doing all this for him. And same thing with Billy. It's like try to segue us, back into the NWA. It's the same thing for Billy. I've said the same thing about Tony Khan and Billy both. Neither one of them want to have a successful wrestling promotion. Both of them want to have a wrestling promotion that is successful based on what they do. Neither one of them is going to sit there and go, okay, maybe I'm not the best booker. Maybe I'm not the best. And, this is where I was going with Dave Lagana. I do feel sooner or later Dave Lagana, Dave Marquez, and everybody else would have been out, because I think sooner or later Billy was going to do what he wanted to do, and people who interfered with him were going to be gone. And that's just his nature. He's been that way with the Smashing Pumpkins. He's been that way, so far with the NWA. And so, the article is about AEW, but I see a lot of the same things in wrestling in general. I see a lot of them in the NWA. What story is EC3 in that's compelling? What story are...
Can I answer that real quick?
Yes.
The ones that EC3 does with himself in OVW and probably in his own wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
Probably.
But in the NWA, none.
Yeah. I was going to say, what storyline is Blunt Force Trauma in? That's compelling. What story is... the last time I saw Joe Alonzo, our junior champion, it was him arguing with Billy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to see Joe Alonzo versus Billy.
No,
I don't want to see Billy.
Exactly. And Billy would be a fine occasional authority figure, but never a regular. And never arguing with the talent and, the way he kind of does. And so it's just, give me something that would make me interested in Joe Alonzo as junior heavyweight champion, and not me just seeing you stuck the belt on some young guy you like that's from your area. Give me a reason to care about the United States Tag Team Championship. Give me a reason to care about the National Heavyweight Championship. You've screwed that belt over because you've had 2 champions in a row. Give it up.
Can we get to NWA in a second? Because I have a good segue. Not that yours was bad, but I have another segue that I'd like to talk about, because going back to AEW and the connection that they have to the NWA, of course, a former NWA Women's World Champion reportedly signed with AEW. That would be Camille the Brickhouse, Kaylee Farmer, has reportedly signed with AEW and has been signed with AEW, but we haven't seen Camille on AEW programming at all. There's been no acknowledgement. We haven't seen her in Ring of Honor or anything. In fact, the first time that Camille has stepped into a ring in 2024 in terms of a wrestling event was this past weekend in Mexico. And not that I have a problem with anything going on in Mexico, but this is a promotion. It's not even a big name promotion. It's an independent in Mexico that Camille made her debut for this past weekend. And I find it interesting because, of course, we're big fans of Camille here, and we think that she's a great talent. And I'm sure she's going to do some pretty fun things at some point for AEW or Ring of Honor, wherever they decide to slot her. But the first time that she stepped into a ring in 2024 was, first of all, in June, 6 months into the year, but for a little independent promotion in Mexico, and in Monterrey, Mexico. So I think that's, again, you talk about AEW and all the signings and all the contracts and all the storytelling, but he has an athlete who I think we all kind of respect here on this channel. I could be mistaken, and hasn't even found a way to write that person into storyline. And in fact, tying it back to the NWA, Camille is actually going to be at an NWA event this I guess tomorrow. It's the Fight the World Wrestling out of Florida, where she's going to have another one-on-one match with Natalia Markova. Markova is the champion there for Fight the World Wrestling, the female champion. And we're going to see Camille make her return to an NWA promotion. She's still supposedly under contract at AEW. So it's just kind of this weird, interesting dynamic. And I want to get your take on it first, DKM. What do you think about, number one, not seeing Camille in a AEW ring, although signed? And what do you think about her making a one-night appearance for the NWA?
Well, she said when her contract was expiring that, she wouldn't necessarily have a problem still working dates here and there for the NWA.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for that.
It was never a loser leaves town match. She just dropped the belt and went on to other things.
Right. To respond to James said maybe she wanted a huge break before signing with someone. She signed with someone supposedly months ago. And she has posted on Instagram or somewhere something about the fact that she's still waiting for them to call to actually use her.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know if she's actually signed. Second of all, I've never heard her actually come out and say, yes, I have signed. Also, if she did sign, I don't know what kind of contract she signed.
Right.
Because there's more than one type of contract in wrestling. So, and of course, AEW has always allowed their workers to work some independent dates as long as it doesn't interfere with when they want to use them.
Right.
So, has she taken time off to let her body heal? Certainly possible.
She was pretty active when she was NWA Women's Champion. Her last match before this one in Mexico, she had wrestled Haley J for the Ladies Night Out event, and then before that, it was the Looks That Kill pay-per-view from last year. But just in the month of November alone, she had four matches, NWA, and Ladies Night Out. But she had wrestled in 2023 35 times, and most of those were women's matches. Now I know that doesn't sound like a lot for a major wrestling promotion, but that was basically she was wrestling at least pretty close to once a week, every week, pretty close, not entirely, but pretty close. So it's
I love your math, Jay.
Yeah, well, I'm not a mathematician. Okay,
better or worse than Steiner's?
He's got a 133% chance of getting somebody's name wrong.
You look at me and you look at somebody like Samoa Joe, and you think, wow, those guys could probably take down a Mongolian barbecue place, no problem. And you're right. But
Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, yeah, I think it could happen.
So years ago, I don't want to get too far off of this, but years ago on SoCal Uncensored, the Wrestling of Record website in Southern California, I was part of the message board, and so was Samoa Joe. A lot of wrestlers actually posted there, and quite frequently, long before I ever had Mongolian barbecue, Samoa Joe used to speak to how great it was. And when I finally had it, I was like, yeah, it's as good as expected. Jayden, what is your thoughts on Camille's long break, and are you excited that she's going to be at this NWA event, or are you no longer interested or care?
When you're out of sight, you're out of mind. People forget about you really easily in this business. Second, when you're not wrestling all the time and you get back to wrestling, it's very difficult to just stop for a while and then get back into it. Your body hates you very much, and it's hard for your endurance, and sometimes it's just hard for your timing. So you want to be out there wrestling as much as you can to be at optimal performance, especially if you're going to eventually be on television. See, she's got a unique look that's different than anybody else in the company, so they can market that uniqueness maybe as Mercedes, the owner's bodyguard or something to initially to get the herself out there, put her with a manager with a guy, do something to have her on television, and then start getting her in a ring. They really, 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 really should, honestly. As for the NWA date, her husband's on the card. Her friend Natalia Markova's on the card, who I think has something to do with the running of that company. It's a smart move because now Markova can get her win over Camille and book it in a championship match, defend a championship over a former world women's champion, somebody who beat her multiple times, finally gets that elephant off her back and gets that win over Camille, which can then maybe, hopefully, start the momentum for her to get something bigger in the NWA now that she's signed with some sort of contract.
Yes, please let her get something bigger in the NWA.
And I don't mean her implants.
Are you talking about Markova?
Or her butt.
Yeah.
Markova signed to the NWA.
Yeah, that's
what we're talking about. Yes.
Okay.
Want something bigger as in actually start winning maybe some matches, maybe a championship, maybe a push, maybe consistent television time, maybe good matches.
Well, speaking of, people signing contracts, of course, we mentioned Spencer Slade is under NWA contract. They reported on the Crockett Cup telecast on the WB, the WB, on the CW app that Reka Tahaka has recently signed. We know that Markova and both Brian Idol have signed. The news coming out now is that Colby Corino, the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, has also re-signed with the company, which I think is a great move for the NWA. I personally did not like Colby Corino when I first saw him in the NWA, but he did in fact grow on me. Jane, I know you have seen Colby basically grow up in this business.
Yes.
His father used to legitimately bring him to wrestling shows as a young child, and he was wrestling in your area, as a teenager, as a young man, and I mean, let me get your take on this. What do you think about Colby re-signing with the NWA, and what do you think of Colby as a talent?
Colby always had the talent. He just had missing something in his personal life, and it seems now he's getting everything onto where he's on a good track in life, and it's starting to benefit him, and I think it's going to benefit the NWA too. The Corino name has a lot to do with the NWA. The Corinos, Steve Corino, before he was an ECW, worked for NWA. After ECW was an NWA champion, held other championships throughout his time in the NWA, was an NWA promoter multiple different times. I didn't always get along with him, but he was a talent, and he loved professional wrestling, and he was a smart man. And I think Colby is able to pick up a lot of that himself and being around the business, and can be a major benefit for the NWA along with all the other wrestlers assigned, especially that Reka Tahaka Hakatui. She's memeing all over right now. Like everybody's talking about her meme-wise out there. The Reka Hakatui girl.
I think you're confusing those two individuals, but I'm not angry at you about it. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to try to speak for DKM here, but I think he would have been happy to hear that Colby's coming back. And the speculation is that they're going to use him less as a junior heavyweight, which I don't know if I agree with. That's a good decision, but again, they're going to do what they want to do, and I guess I can't complain too much about it. But I'm glad to see him coming back. I'm excited to see in what avenues how he's going to be used. And of course, like the big thing with the that was an accident. The big thing with the NWA is that currently they're because Max the Impaler is your television champion for two different divisions. There's not a whole lot of ways to build up your talent. That TV title was when it debuted, that was weird. When the TV title debuted, re-debuted in the NWA, it was basically a fast track to get you into that title picture. So when, I don't remember who the first person that won the TV title. It was Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks won that title. He lost it to Zicky Dice. Zicky Dice lost it to Aaron Stevens. Stevens ended up losing it. No, I'm getting mixed up there. Zicky Dice lost it to the Pope, and then Pope lost it to Tyrus, and then Tyrus,
swallowed it in his fat folds, and we never saw it again.
Right. So, but that title had the way of building up a potential challenger for the 10 pounds of gold. And now that with Max not really regularly defending either of those titles, I feel like it bottlenecks the division. So when you have a talent like Colby Carino, or to a lesser extent, somebody like Kerry Morton, or, Mecha Wolf, some of these guys who I think would be good television champions, they're kind of stuck just, waiting for an opportunity that might not present itself because of poor booking. So, DK, we were talking about Colby Carino and his return to the NWA. He announced that he had signed a contract. What's your take on Colby as a wrestler, and what is your take on him returning to the NWA and being used outside of the junior heavyweight division?
Colby was somebody who grew on me kind of like a fungus.
Yeah.
but I wasn't as big a fan when he started. When he started in the NWA, he left. When he came back, I liked him better. I thought he improved quite a bit while he was gone. I was glad when they put the world title on him. I felt like he and Homicide are the type of people that you'd want to put the world junior title on, the world junior title, because I felt that they were believable as being world champions.
Yeah.
Something I had a problem with both Kerry Morton and Joe Alonzo.
Okay.
And no offense to either one of them, but they're both young guys who aren't going to get, I don't see Alonzo getting a lot of big wins before he won the title. He beat Homicide in a match that was, no disqualification, where he got beat up 99% of it. But just, again, you got to make these people seem credible. And, Billy doesn't seem to worry about that fact. And, but getting back to Colby, I think Colby has a chance. I guess the way it was phrased, someone said his WWE deal fell through, which I have no idea what that means. And so he re-signed with the NWA. So, yes, and then to tag on to what I was hearing you talk about when I got back, Kerry Morton, when he decided he was going to be a heavyweight instead of a junior heavyweight, just because I leave, Jay thinks he has to now. And Colby, these are the things that the TV title are meant for. These type of situations. And they've really done a horrible, horrible, horrible job with the TV title, with the exception of when Pope had it.
Yeah.
That was the only good reign they had.
I agree. You are not wrong.
And Latimer's wasn't bad, but, it was mainly like, let's get his 7 title defenses in as quick as we can so he can challenge Tyrus or whatever they did. And I was looking forward when they put the title on Mims. I was looking forward when they had the title on Clearwater, and they didn't do either thing with either one of those guys. Mims, I just, decided to make look like shit.
Yes.
And then, of course, there's only been 2 women's champions. Kenzie lost on her 7th title defense to Max and then won the world title. Max got like 7 or 8 title defenses in, then won the men's title and has defended the women's title once, but we won't see it till after Crockett Cup.
Question though, how many of those 8 or 10, 12 defenses that Max had were actually on NWA television? Because whatever they say, the ones that aren't on TV don't count.
I think she had 10 overall, and then like 7 of them were on NWA TV. So I mean, she was at first going pretty well with the title, which made sense. It made sense to get Max in there as champion and to get her to the 7 and to challenge the person who won the TV title by beating her, and then who she beat for the TV title, who was now the world champion. They had a beautiful storyline set up. Simple. So simple. And it so smooth, it would have just been there for them. And of course, they didn't do it.
When it comes to Max, what Jaden asked is how many of those defenses were on television. So again, this was like in the YouTube days before they were on the CW. So Max did have most of their title defenses on the CW, defeating Missa Kate, defeating Chelsea, defeating MJ Jenkins, defeating Taylor Rising, defeating
real quick, MJ Jenkins.
Absolutely,
sorry, I had to
absolutely, and also defeating Ruthie J at the 75th anniversary night number 2. There were 2 more matches. One of them was in Helsinki, Finland, against Regina Rosendahl, and then the other match was against Rika Tatsumi, which the NWA ended up showing that match on their YouTube channel. So I give that one credence. I clear that one, the title match in Japan. The Finland match, although they mentioned it on television, we didn't see it, but I would give they did show the match that happened in Japan on their YouTube channel. So I think you kind of have to give them that one. But yeah, outside of that, that title has not been defended against a woman since November of last year, and Missa Kate. The last time it was defended at all was against Mims, which again, that's a whole other bag of worms. That was back in January of this year. So in now 5 months, that title hasn't been defended at all.
Well, it has. It's just not official yet.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah, the Twilight Zone. Purgatory.
Yeah,
right.
That's fair. All right, so before we talk about
if a bear shits in the wood and nobody smells it, did it really happen?
I don't know. You could smell Dave Dahl through blogcasts and stuff like that.
Well, that's before
his matches stink no matter what. Yeah. Real quick, I just thought of something. Just thought of something.
Let's hear it.
Drew McIntyre and Billy Corgan are friends.
Yes.
Would it be interesting if on maybe one of these CW things to try to get out word for maybe possibly NXT or something else, if Drew McIntyre shows up? I'm glad you said Howard Finkel and not like some of the other ring announcers they had from those days.
Sure.
I'd be kind of insulted on that one.
Mike McGurk.
Yes, Mike McGurk is. Yeah, sure. I'll go with that one. But wouldn't it be interesting if McIntyre showed up at the NWA and then all of a sudden fought against EC3, who I think is also friends with some people in the NWA. I mean, with in the WWE too. And then CM Punk showed up and cost him the match.
I mean, that would be phenomenal, right? And highly unlikely, right? I don't think that's going to happen. But
if he quits, it will get over.
Yeah, well, it's just like we talked about, like, would it make sense for him to show up on TNA programming? Sure. Drew McIntyre is a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, so absolutely that would make sense. And for us longtime NWA fans who were in the thick of it when Billy Corgan bought the NWA, you got to remember that the genesis of them buying the NWA was being on the road with Drew McIntyre. That Billy and Lagana and Drew were on the road together because they produced that short documentary on Drew McIntyre. And, the genesis, the climax of that movie was him signing with the WWE, which was not their intention. They wanted to take Drew McIntyre and build the NWA around him. So
yeah, he was the original Nick Aldis.
Yeah, and it would have been full circle. If that would have happened, that would have been, we might be talking about a completely different NWA right now. And with that being said, obviously there's a relationship there between Drew McIntyre and Billy Corgan. I don't know how strong it is, but we saw them in Scotland reenacting a moment from The Simpsons on Drew McIntyre's Instagram account.
Billy Corgan smashing pumpkins. Drew McIntyre smiling politely.
I think it'd be awesome, but I'm also not going to hold my breath for it. And especially when you add in with CM Punk causing the title, that would just blow people's minds. I don't know if we're even ready for that, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
He doesn't have to hold the title. Get screwed.
Sure.
CM Punk shows up. All of a sudden, people are talking about the NWA right now. All right, Billy, I'm giving you a free thing right there. Call somebody. I don't know who you know, but your ass better call somebody right now. Because I think that needs to happen.
And real quick,
that needs to happen.
And real quick, I want to acknowledge James in the chat has said, that match in Finland did go up on their YouTube channel. So again, I think you have to acknowledge that title defense as well. And he said that had 7 months ago that had 10,000 views. So clearly did pretty good for the NWA. They're getting any mileage on their YouTube channel at this point is a positive. But so you do have to acknowledge that. But let's churn gears just a little bit because there are some NWA events that are happening this weekend. Of course, we already mentioned this tomorrow in Florida, the Fight the World Wrestling. Of course, it's going to have the TNA Media Champion in what's his name again? I forgot.
Top Dollar.
But what's his real name?
AJ Francis.
AJ Francis. You got AJ Francis. He'll be in attendance. We know that AJ Francis is in real life friends with Brian Idol, so I'm sure the continuation, the saga that they had from Hard Times will probably happen. We know that Markova is going to be facing Camille for the FTW Women's Championship. She'll be defending that against Camille. Tom Latimer will be there. I wouldn't be surprised if he defends the national title on that card. That's happening again tomorrow in Lake City, Florida. Then also we do know that this weekend, the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, who will be in Ontario, Canada on Friday. I did tell Timmy, our old pal Timmy Wood, about that, and he's not going to go. But there is another event, NWA event this weekend as well, and that is the Exodus Pro. Their event is happening June 22nd. It's going to be headlined by EC3 defending the 10 pounds of gold against Carson Drake. Also on that card, we're going to see Tiffany Nieves versus Amity Levy, who I'm not very familiar with, as the continuation of the Exodus Pro, Mission Pro, Chasing Atalanta tournament, crowning a championship that will be recognized by both Mission Pro Wrestling and Exodus Pro. The Exodus Pro Midwest champion, Pretty Boy Smooth, will be taking on Cal Hero. This will be, I believe, a return match from the tournament. And then also in action will be Ashton Day taking on the master of the canvas, Sebastian. And that goes along with also this weekend, we have Crossfire. Oh, excuse me, that's next weekend. We'll talk about that next week. And then, of course, the JCP announced their next event in July, Trials at the Troubadour, featuring talents from CCW and the NWA. That should be very interesting. Definitely looking forward to that. DK, you want to talk a little bit Crockett Cup?
Oh, sure. Why not?
We were there.
We were.
Did you enjoy the Crockett Cup?
I enjoyed it while we were there.
I think I enjoyed seeing it with you, not necessarily what was in there. And, of course, Markova's booty.
Oh, there was a lot more than just Markova's booty. There was a lot of booty in that show.
I had walked away to take photos, and DK got a nice view of some of the talent that was there.
Hopefully it didn't raise your blood sugar or your blood rate.
Right by DK.
Anyway, yeah, right by me. A lot of them were right by me. It was a good night. No, I mean, look, some serious talk.
Okay, Landstorm.
Which I hate more than anything. But yeah, I mean, some serious talk. I mean, I had fun when we were there. Sure, part of it was probably Jay was there. But
I'm a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a mushroom. He's a fun
I
guy.
enjoyed it more than the baseball game, but that's another story.
And the barbecue.
Oh, I like the barbecue.
Even though those green beans, I still say those green beans look sad.
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember I weighed more when I walked out of that place than when I walked in, and somehow it seems like by more than the amount of food I ate. As I think I was absorbing calories just walking down the line.
That happens to me now when I walk by pizza places. I gain 4 pounds. I don't have to eat the pizza anymore.
We got a kind of was a sampler plate, so we had 3 meats, and we had ribs and what was it? Ribs, chicken, and brisket.
Yep.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my. And
I'm getting hungry right now.
I was going to say now I'm hungry, but
ribs, chicken, and brisket. Oh my. Ribs, chicken, and brisket. Oh my.
Ribs, chicken,
I
and
feel
brisket.
like John Pinette right now.
Ribs, chicken, and brisket. I'm fat.
You said John Pinette.
Yeah, I feel like him right now.
Awesome.
So anyway,
sorry.
I mean, I thought it was now one of the things that I think helped was, of course, there was a goal point for most of the show, which was, of course, the Crockett Cup.
Right.
I mean, they had the local teams do a dark match, 4-way for a dark match, and sure, it was fine. It was there, 8 4-ways. They had a singles 4-way match, and at least the guy that won is a guy that looks like he could be a future top guy in the area.
Yeah.
And so
maybe he'll get booked in an upcoming event soon.
Yeah, he might be. You never know. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. They had one dark match that was just NWA talent. I'm not sure why they decided to have it as a dark match, but they had Kenzie Page.
Oh yeah.
And
I don't know that was a dark match. I just think they're going to use that for later because
I wonder if it's going to be one of those YouTube exclusives.
Probably.
Because they didn't call it a dark match, but they didn't start the show until after it.
That's gonna be a pre-show match. There's some reason there's some kind of distinction between them.
Yeah, and so the first match that you saw on this last show was the third match of the actual night. And so, but there was a goal. You're keeping up with it. Not all the matches were great. Not all of them were bad. There were some pretty good ones in there. There was nothing that blew me away. That's what I said. I go, I can't sit there and go, oh, well, it used to be when you had Camille that Camille's matches always stole the night.
Yeah.
But part of the problem in this particular thing is that since it's not a pay-per-view, but TV things, and we talked about this last week, is the matches don't necessarily get enough time to develop.
Right.
And
because
so,
they're not shooting it as a pay-per-view anymore. They're shooting it as TV. And there is a difference when you have to account for commercials and having so much time, so that your episodes aren't lopsided. They can't just do one big match for an episode of Power. They need to have multiple matches for Power. So a match that would maybe go 60 minutes, they can't do that anymore because they need to make sure that they have multiple matches for their CW show.
They can't have a match that goes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it hurts in a way. I thought Ella Envy versus Kenzie was, I guess it was Kylie Page was in the role, and Kenzie was the.
Yes.
was in the world title match, and I thought the match was good. The cameraman who got injured probably doesn't remember it.
It's my guy.
Best day of his life. No.
That was Jay's actual favorite spot of the match, and when it is on, you'll see why.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jay could talk for about 3 minutes.
Well, I wasn't.
Or stand up.
No, he didn't.
All right.
Good. I'm glad the paper goes on hard times.
Yeah.
Well, there was hard times, brother.
I don't know. But it was. Did you watch this week at all, Jay?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I did. And
it was interesting watching it versus being there.
What's funny is like some of the things I kind of forgot, right? Like I don't remember them explaining why Silas Mason wasn't there. I don't remember that at all.
That's because you weren't in.
Okay. You
came in just as the match started.
Well, remember, I also went up in the stand so I could grab some photos. Like, again, part of when I go to wrestling shows, I don't get to enjoy them the way that I used to, that I would like to. That I'm always feel like I'm working because I want to get good video and good photos for the website, for the social media, and so there was a time where I walked away from where I was sitting with DK so I could take this. So I walk away all the time because I'm trying to also create content too. It's like it's how I justify spending all the money to go to fly to Dallas and stay in a hotel and eat out every day because I'm also creating content for the social media and for the podcast. So I do have to work when I'm at here. I don't just get to enjoy the show like DK, who was sitting there and having butts in his face.
Tax break.
You say
that never gets old, by the way.
No, it doesn't. Tax break, nothing, man. I don't. The alliance is not incorporated. There is no business behind it. It's just Jay. So
I thought it was for buckets for rent. I thought you were negotiating a bucket deal with DK.
Yeah.
Then you found out it was a plastic bucket.
Sure. But anyways, so yeah, there
well,
was.
You have to report the revenue from everything you do for Alliance, so you might as well have the expenses to offset it.
Yeah, you don't have to be an LLC or anything to necessarily claim your taxes.
Oh, and by the way, Luthez did do us a solid talking up Miss Markova, and hopefully we will get her on the show. And I hope when she does come on the show that Jayden will refrain from calling her Stifler's mom.
I haven't called her Stifler's mom in quite a long time since she had that match with Camille.
That's fair.
Maybe Jennifer Coolidge will call her my mom.
Well, she was one of the ones we talked to at Hard Times.
You talked to?
One of the ones I talked to at Hard Times. I talked to her and CJ. I miss CJ. Bring her back. And use her back as a wrestler.
Sure.
Bring her back as Christy James. Use her as a wrestler, please. I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot.
No.
Actually, I don't even know if she's still in wrestling, but if she is, then you need to do that. But I remember telling Markova specifically that I wish they were doing more with her and using her and better storylines, which of course she agreed with me because
you're right.
Well, because she wanted to be used better. I mean, I don't. You're not going to disagree when someone tells you they should use you more. They should put you in better storylines.
100%. Like what you said, nothing offensive to her. You were nothing but a gentleman, and what you were saying is 100% right. Like, we still talk about it today. We're still talking about it. Like, they're still not using her in a position that is favorable or something that would make sense to most fans. So
and that's what we're hoping we're hoping
Now that she's got a contract, yeah, please.
We're hoping that with the contract now that, okay, we know she's not going to just magically disappear one day, although they could have had her under contract anytime they wanted, I'm sure.
For the record, though, while DK was talking to Natalia Markova, I was getting my picture taken with these two. So, who had the better night? I don't know.
No, that's when you were filming the video. I took that picture.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I'm not complaining. All right.
I think I'm
Can you believe? Sorry.
I think I'm the one that paid for that picture. If I remember correctly.
What's that?
Yeah, I said I think I'm the one that paid for that picture. If I remember.
I think you did. Well, I slipped them some cash for doing the promo that we do at the beginning of the show, and I feel weird about using this video anymore because like now that they seemingly are no longer a part of the same group. Like before, even though they're no longer tag champions, I still felt like I could use this video because they were still in the same stable.
Can you believe that there's some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion, and I'm Kimmy Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Period. 3 hour approved.
All right.
Maybe at the 76 we'll get individual ones done this time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I still think the best part of the whole thing, I know you probably won't agree, but with Sal's face in the background.
Oh no, that's pretty solid. Like that doesn't get lost on me.
Yeah.
And speaking of the 76, our pal Rick Del Santo is going to be in the house for that. So
hello, Rick Del Santo.
Yeah, I don't know I don't think you've actually got to meet Rick Del Santo yet.
No, but Rick, not only will I maybe meet you at the 76, I think you should come to Pennsville, New Jersey on
Friday, October 18th.
Yes, Friday, October 18th at the Pennsville Middle School, located at 4 William Penn Avenue in beautiful, historic Pennsville, New Jersey.
It's not rustic though, huh?
No, it's not rustic at all. It's definitely not rustic. But I definitely think you should come down and check out the event. I don't know if you heard, but Breaker Morant's defending the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship against the NWA's own Slade, aka Spencer Slade, and also Falaba will be there. And I just literally got a text while I was talking to you guys a few seconds ago. Actually, when you guys were talking about women wrestling, Dr. Zirconium just told me that Valerie Verman will be defending the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship on that card. I think that's a perfect example, a perfect reason for both of you to come over to Pennsville, New Jersey, and come check out that Dawg event. It is for charity too. I have to mention that that wasn't mentioned that it was for a charity. It's actually to benefit the Foundation for the Future.
Whoa! Well, look what Rick Del Santo just said. Done. I got you. That's the man right there. We're gonna meet with
Valerie.
Yeah, I think Valerie did help. That's why I mentioned that. And by the way, I love Rick. If you don't follow Rick Del Santo on Twitter, you really should. He's got some great pictures and he's got some great videos. I think I even follow him a little. I think I've seen him multiple times on some videos on YouTube and stuff like that. And but see, you won't be traveling to a show; you'll be traveling to an event.
Who knows?
No, he said he travels to shows. I think what he means is he would be willing to travel to an event as well.
This will be his first event, I'm sure, because other companies run shows. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators run the event. But seriously, you follow him on Twitter because he posts a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of great pictures. And he knows a lot of people and hangs around with a lot of cool people.
And you could buy the seat, but you'll only need the edge.
And that'll mean Adam Copeland.
Oh my God.
Maybe one day Valerie can get booked for an event in Texas.
Defend the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship.
She's champion.
Yeah. And if she's defending, you don't know if she's going to get through. I can't wait to find out who they have her against. Because that means both World Wrestling Grand Prix Championships are on the line. We don't know who they're being defended against. Baron von Storm. And that's all I have to say about that.
I'm still not... I don't know. I don't think I enjoyed that.
Not into the Baron von Storm.
we'll see more of that in the coming weeks, of course, from the Crockett Cup. I do want to finish up talking about the Crockett Cup, though, because I want to wrap the show up. But I feel like this was a good starting point for the NWA. Obviously, this tag tournament is prestigious. This is the first time it has not been on pay-per-view. It's very much a signature live event. So the importance of it, the legacy of it, feels slightly diminished, but I feel like they still did a good job of trying to convey how important the cup is, and we'll see over the next few weeks just how important it was. I really felt that the matchup, it was like a return match between the Daisy Kills and Talos versus the Immortals. I felt like that was a lot of fun in that matchup, and I said this on the pre-party, and I'll say it again here. I really felt that Vampiro was a distraction, was unnecessary, and kind of took away from the match. And I will say this, that I was out getting food during the women's tag team match, so I can't speak to the live experience, only what I saw on the CW app. But as I was coming back to the ringside area, I did see Vampiro just book it, just gone, just leave. And I was like, wow, he was so meaningless in that match, and then he was just gone. I don't want to hear later Billy say how important Vampiro is to the locker room, or how much he's a figure that guides the talent, because he left. He left in the middle of the show. He took his payday and took off. And I don't know if there was an altercation, if he was upset at his pay. I don't know what happened, but that dude was gone before the end of the show. He was gone before the second televised match was filmed. So
actually, several wrestlers left throughout the night. I mean, they didn't all stick around and hang out in the locker room.
And I'm
not saying that's bad, but I'm just saying.
I hate that. They should be watching everything.
I would think so, and especially because at that moment when you do crown a Crockett Cup champion, I think that's a meaningful moment, and I feel like just as a solidarity and synergy amongst the roster and celebrating such a big deal, like it didn't happen. So, but anyways, I felt like that.
I saw three of them, including Sinister Minister,
sure,
walk out together, and it was just kind of like, a lot of them was like, well, once they were done. And
it'll be interesting to see if there's any post promos, again, Vampiro up until recently was kind of connected to Alex Misery and kind of connected to Mecha Wolf, and had been making these overtures to Natalia Markova. And because there was nothing really there for him and he left, like what other, stories could they tell with him not being there? But getting back to the match anyways, what I really liked about it was seeing Daisy Kill get very hands-on with Kratos. And there was a point, I don't know if you remember this, DKM, and if you guys are on their YouTube channel, in the shorts, I recently posted it, where Daisy Kills is going really like aggressive on Kratos, where he was beating him in the corner, and that's not something you typically see with Daisy Kills. And I'm wondering if this is a hint or maybe some sort of message that we're going to see a more aggressive Daisy Kills, less ukulele and more violence, which I think would benefit the character for sure. You hope so?
Yeah, I mean, this was my first time to see Daisy Kill in person. And so when I saw him, it was like, man, this guy has size. He's built. He's, got the hair. He's a good-looking guy that can draw women in.
Yeah.
And they have him as a ukulele playing little bitch. And it's like,
does he remind you of Raven at all? His face?
Maybe a little, but it's hard to. I mean, okay. This is why sometimes things are important. Where the hell did Jay go? He asks the question and then he disappears.
Yes.
And anyway, what I was going to say is who he reminds me of is Scotty Flamingo.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so when we understand the differences here, so yeah, he reminds me of a Scotty Flamingo. I would like to see him kind of toughen up, drop the ukulele, drop the daisy. I don't know what, kills is fine.
Sure.
But I would pick a different first name and I'll toughen up a little bit. And then I think his tag team with Talos.
Yeah, Talos.
Would make more sense. And so he has the look to kind of be a good-looking badass that would draw women in. And we all know if you draw women in, you're going to draw in the guys.
Sure.
That was the world-class thing. You had the good-looking guys, and then in the Von Erich boys, and then, the girls came to see them, and the guys came to see the girls.
Yeah, Chris Adams and everybody, they really did draw with that. Same thing with Mid-South, too, with the Rock and Roll Express, and Magnum TA and Terry Taylor.
Going back to Crockett Cup, what did you think of the rematch from earlier in the year with Reka Tahaka and Tiffany Nieves versus La Rosa Negra and Ruthie J?
Well, of course, I didn't understand why they were having it at the time. Because
yeah.
that was explained like the next week on TV.
Yeah.
So it was one of those, honestly, I thought the wrong team won. I feel bad for Ruthie J. Basically, she's put over Tiffany twice in singles matches.
Yeah.
Now twice in tag team matches. And there are hints that one of those teams isn't going to be lasting too much longer.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of understood, okay, you put the heels in against the face champions, but when is Billy ever worried about, what they are? Although I have noticed he's far more likely to book heel versus heel than he is face versus face.
Now, Rosville says, what was wrong with Nieves? It seemed like she forgot the game plan. Was that your take on it? Was it Tiffany Nieves or was it Reka Tahaka during that matchup? I didn't see it live. I only saw it on the CW app, and it didn't look bad to me on the CW app.
The only thing I noticed in the CW app that I didn't notice live was that the end was more sudden than I remembered it being.
Might have been edited.
And so I don't, and Rekka won because I remember the first question you asked me about the match was there tension between Ricky Tikki Tavi and Tiffany? And yes, I called her Ricky Tikki Tavi for, I don't know, days and days and days during the thing and whatever. I go, and you asked me, I go, no, not really. In fact, I was kind of surprised because Ricky got the pin. And I think watching it, I was more surprised that Ricky got the pin than I was that it ended so suddenly. But so, I mean, could somebody have gotten lost? Maybe. It didn't strike me as that way. It just, watching it, it just struck me as in, okay, we're at the end. And by the way, pins out of nowhere aren't uncommon booking in the current NWA. So, I mean, I didn't, even watching it, I didn't take it as anything unusual. That's kind of the way they do it.
And then
the match needs to end now.
Yeah, and it felt it did feel like I wasn't there for that match. Like I said, I was getting a chorizo burrito. It was delicious. Yeah, a good chorizo burrito is hard to beat.
I had chorizo and tacos the other day, and some grilled chicken tacos too. I enjoyed that so much.
You're killing me, man. I'm starving over here.
Killing the smalls.
So yeah, when that match kind of ended abruptly on the CW, I was like, what, I didn't really understand. I had to rewind it a little bit and watch it again. But let's get to the main event. Of course, that would be the tag team match between the Country Gentlemen, AJ and Casey Kazana versus Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton. Of course, Alex Taylor was then subbing for Silas Mason. What we find out later because of the programming is that Alex Taylor forfeited his shot at the junior heavyweight title to compete in the Crockett Cup with Kerry Taylor.
Kerry Morton.
What did I say?
Kerry Taylor.
Yeah, sorry, Kerry Morton. It's been a long day, fellas. So Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor really put on what I felt like was a great match with the Country Gentlemen. I like AJ Kazana. He's grown on me. I wasn't a big fan when he debuted, but him and Casey kind of, I don't know. I feel like something's brewing there. I kind of like it, and I've already said it in the past. I'm a big Southern Six fan. I do like Kerry Morton. I do like Alex Taylor. I thought that was a great match. What were your thoughts on that one, DK?
It was a tale of two things for me. I could have done without everything in the beginning.
Sure, me too.
It was simple enough if they had just shown up and said, Thrillbilly wasn't medically cleared. Alex Taylor's taking his spot. Okay, let's go. But, the whole BS of billion thing. Oh, well, if any other time it would have been good. But, hey, this is a Crockett Cup, so they have to get the other guys to buy in on it.
Yeah, that was
guys, the Country Gentlemen keep going, no, you forfeit. And then they have the match.
Yeah.
That was stupid, terrible booking, and terrible storytelling, and unnecessary. Now, the match itself I loved.
I'm going to coin a new phrase. Shitty booking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did the right team win, DK?
Did the right team win? When you look at the overall etch of it, yes. If it was just me booking that match, no.
So in a vacuum, do you think the Country Gentlemen should have won, but with the tournament, it made more sense for the Southern Six?
Well, with the way the tournament went, yes.
We talked earlier. We were talking about how like the WWE is working with Pro Wrestling Noah. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about EC3 and All Japan, and some of the wrestlers that we'd like to see go to All Japan. I might be crazy, but I think the Country Gentlemen would work in All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, AJ certainly would. JC needs to.
Casey.
Either way, JC, Casey, and Sunshine Band. He needs to firm up a little bit.
Sure, 100%. He's still. You got to remember too, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but he's only been wrestling for just over a year now.
No, I mean he's a young guy. He's learning. He's still a little bit green. We saw a little bit of that in the match. Nothing terrible. But if you're going to be in Japan, AJ's he's a big boy, but he's a solid boy.
Right.
He doesn't jiggle, so to speak.
He's not Silas Mason in any aspect, but he's pretty damn close. His promos aren't horrible. His look is pretty solid. His ring work, I feel like, AJ is a pretty solid wrestler for the NWA. I feel like maybe he gets slept on a lot because he's been a tag team wrestler. And when he first debuted, when he was feuding with Mims, it was kind of inconsequential. But I'm starting to buy into AJ.
I think AJ has the potential now, now.
Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be a solid upper mid card guy. I think again, we're talking about the TV championship earlier that's wasting away on Max.
Yeah.
And, you get AJ in there. He's somebody that, when Mims had the title, AJ would have been a good person for Mims to be up against.
Yeah.
As well as Draper. What's happened to him? Man, put him through a fence and they just disappear.
Yeah.
And everything. So, yeah. And I think the Country Gentlemen's a good tag team. They should certainly be chasing the U.S. titles, I feel. And, probably even get a run with the belts. I don't know. Maybe they are the champions. We don't know who the champions are.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those, I don't know what to say. But,
DK's lost with words.
I lost with words. Overall, I was okay with what I saw on the app.
Yeah.
I probably enjoyed it a little bit more live. Let's be honest. When you're there with the crowd and no popcorn because they didn't have popcorn, but when you're there with the crowd and a drink and everything, it's fun. It was enjoyable. Really, I didn't have a problem with the Crockett Cup as a whole. The way I would have booked it, no. But was I upset with how it was booked? No, not really either. I think it was overall booked fine, except for the two teams with one with a non-binary and one with a female advancing. I probably didn't like that, but
well, I think now's a good stopping point for tonight. We will be back on Thursday. We'll be doing more Crockett Cup talk. Of course, we'll be giving you any more updates regarding the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. I'll also be sharing some events that are coming up here locally that the Alliance blog has been kind of supporting here locally. So we'll be having a lot of good wrestling talk over the next few weeks. And of course, next Tuesday is the United Wrestling Network.
Party. Oh.
Yeah, well, yeah. United Wrestling Network is presenting an event at their old stomping grounds at the Irvine Improv with West Coast Pro Wrestling. So I will be there, and we'll have some fresh content coming from there. But yeah, we'll have the pre-party at Tuesday, and then we'll have the Alliance guys on Thursday. And I just want to say again, thanks for everyone that's been supporting the show, buying merchandise. We do have new T-shirts in our merchandise store.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice one. And there will be some 76 themed merchandise that will be available for those who are attending the 76th anniversary show. And I just want to say thanks, guys. Man, this channel is growing. We're getting more subscribers every day, and it's because you guys are here and integrating and being a part of the show and being a part of the support team and part of this community. So I do want to say thanks, guys. I appreciate all of you who have helped make this, in my view, a success. So with that being said, I appreciate your guys' support. And then until next time, we'll see you guys at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the